Alright, so let's say that we've taken care of any retests. We'll pretend that this is not here. We've looked at any old tests that we needed to look at, and now we're going to create a new test. And we choose which test type, bituminous or soil. I'm going to go with soil for now. Defaults to the usual information, the technician name, choose your date. The location, it's just the same old list that you're probably used to seeing. If you don't see a location that you need, that you know you've seen it before, the problem might be that the project manager has limited them too much. So what you can do is you can uncheck that, and then it will give you all of the possible options. So if you don't see what you need, you can uncheck that box, and it gives you more options here. But I'm going to choose backfill. Your location details should be just the same as what you used to enter into the Excel sheet. Details about exactly where or what is being tested so that the next person can understand what's going on. So details like Excel sheets. Your elevation is going to be in feet, and it will have to be in decimal form. So if you're dealing with, if you're 6 inches below a pipe, for instance, then you would need to enter negative 0.5, because 6 inches is half of a foot. So you can only go out to one decimal place, but this is saying that you are 6 inches below something, and your elevation reference is that something. So if you're below the bottom of the pipe, you're measuring from the bottom of the pipe, then bottom of the pipe by 12-1, we'll say. So this is what you're measuring from in connection with your elevation. So if you're saying that you're below subgrade, you would put subgrade here. That's what you're measuring from. This is your elevation. So now you don't need to worry about getting your location. All that does is it gives you a latitude and longitude. You also don't need to worry about the project location ID. That's not necessary. So then you're ready to go to your specifications. So these are the things that the project manager has set up, or are set up from a global scale, that tell you what you need for a test to do the test and to determine if it's passing or not. So up top, these are your proctors that you can choose. So right now it says pending because I haven't chosen one. So I click this, and now I can see my soil proctors. So let's say that we're going to use this one. And the names can be a little confusing at first, but I'll break it down for you. So this first part, S-1, this means that this is what the sample was called when it was brought into the lab or when it was done in the field. Just this is how the technician or someone else chose to name it. It's S-1. The next part is COR, which means that this is a corrected proctor value. OP means that it's a 1 point. That means that somebody ran a 1 point out in the field and they had to get a corrected proctor value. The next part is the code for the soil classification, which we gave you little cheat sheets for your notebooks. If you need another copy of that, please let us know. But generally, this part won't be as useful to you, I think, as the part below. The next part is the optimum moisture, 12.3%. Maximum dry density is 132.1, and the material is brown. So this kind of gives you a lot of the information just in a glance, but it's also down here. So the soil classification code, CL, that means that it's a lean clay. It's brown. The size refers to what is considered oversized material. And most of the time that's going to be a number 4 sieve or the +4. That means the same thing. So that will be here to let you know that anything that's +4 is considered oversized. It has the optimum moisture and the maximum dry density. And if you still need more information, you can click here to show more data. And some of this data will be here, sometimes it won't, but it will have, hopefully, more information that's useful to you. So this is telling us in the notes the percentage of the +4 material. This material had 22.4% +4. So that's useful information that you'll see in the notes. Down here are your specifications. So this is saying that, below the optimum moisture, -3%, +3%, is considered the specification for the moisture. The compaction should be between 95 and 102. Now, if moisture isn't a failing criteria, if there is no moisture spec, you can check this and it will take that away. But we're going to say that there is, just for the sake of demonstrating. And so now we hit next. So now this is actually the running the test. The previous page was just your specifications. This is your test page. So this is where you choose your gauge. And these are all of the gauges that have been standardized today. If you forgot to enter your standardization, your gauge won't show up here. So then you'll have to click on this, and it takes you to the standardization page, but it won't save anything that we've entered up until this point. So please be careful about that. Make sure that you always enter your gauge standardization first. So now I can choose my gauge. I can enter my probe depth in inches, say 4, and my density count. And this number will be different, and you'll have to find it differently based on which brand gauge that you're using. Please see the handout for details about where to find these numbers depending on which gauge you're using. But for now, I'm just going to say we'll enter 1500 for the density count. We'll enter 104 moisture, 40. So these are the numbers that you need to enter: your moisture percentage, your wet density, your moisture count, and your density count. And this should never ever be selected. So this should never have a check mark in that box. Please always leave it unchecked like this. And now I've tapped somewhere else on my screen and it calculated my results for me down here. And so it's telling me my in-place dry density in pounds per cubic foot is 125. My in-place moisture was 12%. I got 95% compaction, moisture passes, and the density passes. Down here is the remark code, kind of a shorthand that will show up on the report to denote whether something passed or failed. DP means density passed. MP means moisture passed. If it failed, it would be DF, density failed. MF, moisture failed. This will be done automatically, so you shouldn't need to make any changes to that. And now we hit next. And the field notes, these are not required, but they're very useful if you're on a part-time job and you know somebody else will be coming out there the next day and you're not sure if you can get a hold of them, or you just think this is easier. You can enter notes here about what's going on. So, watch the contractor, he likes to do things without you. Just any notes that you would want to leave to your colleagues so that they can know what they're walking into. This is a good place to leave them because the client will not see these notes. Only GeoConcepts people, the field technicians and the project managers, will see these notes. So it's very useful if you wanted to leave a note for the next person. The phase, don't worry about, there's nothing there to choose anyway. And now we hit finish, but that does not save your test. Finish just means that you've gone through all of the screens that are available. So now we come back, we're at the main screen. You'll notice there's no save as draft option. You cannot save things as a draft. You have to hit save test. So please be careful when you're filling these out, because if you make a mistake in it, you can't go back and fix it. So I'm going to hit save test. And it saved my test. It's told me its number. And so now I have the option from here to copy my last test. Now, if I were to navigate away from this screen and come back, that option will have gone away. But once I've saved a test, if I wanted to copy the last one, I can hit copy last test, and it copies the basic information such as the location and the details, the elevation and the reference. It copied my proctor. It still has my specifications, but it won't copy your test results for you. So that's a nice shortcut if you're testing at the same location. But now that I've navigated away from that, copying my last test is no longer available. So just be aware of that if you want to copy your previous test, you'll need to do it at that point. Unfortunately, you cannot copy, say, 2 tests previous that you've taken. Unfortunately, you can only copy the last test you took, but it's there as a tool if you would like it. And that's how to run a density test for soils.